movieweb.com.
So on this film, I wanted to begin by asking you the timeline from the moment you decided to make a change in your own life after your accident, and then you decided to document that change. Could you talk us sort of about that timeline, because it's not completely clear in the film?
Okay, yeah, the timeline goes way back to where I started to make changes. It goes back all the way after Liar Liar. It goes back 10, 12 years. Yeah, I started shifting my life. The accident, the concussion, facing my own death compelled me to talk about it. I was kind of shifting in a closet. You know, I had begun simplifying my life. I had already moved to the mobile home park, which is a beautiful park. No one should feel sorry for me. It costs money to live there, but it's much simpler and it embraces community much more. These shifts had been taking place, and when I was facing my own death after the concussion, which happened in 2007, I simply wanted to share my journey and offer it to people.
And so when you started to make the film, and the things that you started to learn from the people you were talking to, did the film you intended to make, did that start to change in any way when you were actually making it? Do you know what I mean?
It's radically changed. You know, I went to a place called HeartMath, for example, that I'd never heard of when I started the journey. Someone else told me about HeartMath. I thought I'd be in and out in 5 minutes. I'd find kind of like a new agey, flighty institution. But it was incredible to me what I discovered there about the human heart, its ability possibly even to predict the future, to explain scientifically intuition, you know, how our hearts have a brain, and neurocardiology is a new field of science. So as I made these discoveries along the way, I was being edified and I was expanding, you know. So the movie, of course, expanded and shifted radically.
Yeah, those are the math science stuff is some of my favorite stuff in the
Heart
movie.
math science.
The heart
Yeah.
math science
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
some of my favorite stuff in the movie. And
Yeah.
when they were doing these experiments and showing you really these experiments and the proof of it, were you surprised by the results? Because it's surprising to the audience.
Well, I was surprised that we had a science for it. You know, there are things that I had intuited. You know, I believe in a mother's intuition that when their daughter, you know, may be hurt or have some powerful emotional experience, the mother can feel it. I believe in that. Well, now they're starting to study the power, the science behind that. And so they actually demonstrated it for me, and it's in the movie, that yogurt experiment, you know.
Right.
I'd heard growing up that we can affect our plants by talking to them. You know, that was a theory. Okay, maybe that's a positive energy going toward a living system. But now I've experienced it on some level. You know, I was in a room with a dish of yogurt, and my emotions very well may have affected the energy, baseline energy of that living system.
What kind of lessons, as a human being, do you sort of take from that?
Well, it's what Dean Radin says in the movie. If that's true, then everything changes. You affect everything with your energy each moment. The way if you're embodying anger and you want a more peaceful world and you're still angry, you're not helping.
So I wanted to ask you, as a filmmaker, did you have a favorite day of shooting? Was there one person in particular that you talked to, or something an experience that you had on the set that was really the moment?
Well,
for
I
you?
learned from everybody. There's this Eastern phrase, I believe it's Shaktipat, where you actually get affected and are edified by the energy of another person. And that happened in all these interviews because they're so wise. I'm a personal fan of poetry. You know, that's my personal favorite. So when I sat with Coleman Barks, who translates the Rumi poetry, probably the best known poet in the world, I didn't want to let him go. I literally wanted to pull up I wanted to lock the doors,
right.
you know. And I had a short time with Desmond Tutu, but the light that comes on in his eye is blinding, you know, and so that was a particularly beautiful experience for me.
We started by asking what's wrong with the world, and we ended up discovering what's right with it.